Is Tekken 8 not even Tekken anymore? Is Tekken 8 just a Soul Calibur light? This is always a hot topic of discussion whenever a new character with either weapons or magic powers is introduced to the Tekken roster. We saw this recently with the introduction of Miyarizu. Of course, she came with ogre powers, magic shit and the weapon stuff, right? So this is something I want to have a bit of an in-depth discussion and give you guys my take on how I feel about this whole weapons, magic, Tekken being Soul Calibur 8. Now, Tekken as a whole, in general, has always been on the borderline of pure martial arts and fantasy, as we saw from Tekken 1, having Devil with Kazuya, having Yoshimitsu with the sword, Roger Jr., Kuma, and Yoshimitsu with the sword. I think I mentioned Yoshi already. So, with that package of Tekken 1 itself, there was already a divide between pure martial arts and just fantasy. However, the problem with what we have right now is the fact that even though Tekken 1 had this fantasy going on, it was a very grounded game. There were no projectiles and there were no big magical hits in game or big magical moves that were actually meta in game, right? The only oddball was Yoshimitsu. Yoshimitsu was the only character in Tekken 1 that had a weapon. He had a sword. But Yoshi has always been looked at as the weird character of the Tekken roster. He's always been the oddball out, so he always gets the pass of, okay, it's Yoshimitsu, he's allowed to do that. And we kind of normalized it from Tekken 1 up until Tekken 8. Yoshi has been the only exception since then. Now, the time Tekken 8 started to stray away from its pure grounded hand-to-hand, meta-focused combat was in Tekken 4, I believe Tekken 3 or Tekken 4, where they introduced customization weapons that you could actually use in-game. Now, granted, most of these were not actually meta, they were mostly bad, Brian had this shotgun he could use mid-combo at the wall. It was alright, but mostly it was just for flexing, and that was mostly the way, or that's how most of the weapons in customization worked. They were really, really bad. It's either they were highs or they could easily be stepped. They were freaky slow. So there was no need to actually customize this stuff, only if you wanted to have fun with the weapons in the game. Now, the thing about this is Namco love testing out stuff in customization or just outside the game mode of the main Tekken game mode. So the weapons, I believe, was a kind of testing. Even Tag 2, for example, Tag 2 had special rage arts. If you didn't know, guys, certain costumes or outfits came with a super. If the opponent was maybe 20% health, then it would guarantee a kill. This is where Tekken 7 rage arts actually came from. So Namco always tests stuff either in customization or in the game, right? Of course, Geese Howard was a test for hit. I think people have come to terms with that. So people say Alisa is a character that came with weapon stuff, but it started from customization. The only difference is those in customization were actually not meta. But Alisa is the first character introduced back in Tekken 6 that came with an actual weapon kit, outside of hand-to-hand grounded combat or grounded martial arts. And granted, Tekken 6 is my GOAT Tekken game of all time, my favorite Tekken game of all time. But I do agree that Alisa was the first character that introduced this whole weapon shit in the game. I don't have a problem with Lars because Lars was still handed grounded combat. Of course, he represents anime and I love anime, so haters, it is what it is. I do love Lars and he is quite popular. He has a good fan base for all the anime lovers. And then Bob as well. Bob does karate, but his version was freestyle karate, right? So basically added a little spice to the karate, which I don't also have a problem with. People really hate Lars, Bob, and Alisa. They call all these guys the new age of Tekken. But for me, I think as Alisa, as the only character that was a new age of Tekken. And then enter Tekken 7, then Namco seemed to just double down and go all in with all these weapons in the game, with the first character being Noctis as a DLC. He came with weapons, and then we got Negan, who also came with a weapon, but then we got Kunimitsu, who had her weapons, of course, and her kunai. I also forgot to mention Kuni as well. Kuni, just like Yoshi, also had weapons. She had her kunai on her left arm, but she did not have it as a projectile. She could only use it basically like a jab, but just a kunai, right? So it kind of balanced out, right? Yoshi, Kunimitsu, like these were the old balls of the game, more so Yoshi than Kuni. But enter Tekken 7, Kuni had like QCF1, which was actually meta, a basic projectile she could use, right? They doubled down on the weapons, and it just got worse after that. Enter Tekken 8, we got Victor, more weapon characters, we got Lo who got a nunchuck, we got Leroy with the cane, we got Anna with a rocket launcher, we got Nina with guns, and now we have Mia with the staff. So this is where we are right now. Tekken has actually just embraced the weapons in the game. So has Tekken 8 gone full Soul Calibur? Honestly, there are two ways to look at this. The first way is, yes, Tekken 8 has lost its identity in a sense that it focused more on a grounded combat, hand-to-hand based focused martial arts game. Mike Holo gave a good example when he spoke about True Ogre in Tekken Tag 2. Ogre, I don't know if it's a True Ogre or Ogre, the green one, I think it's Ogre. So Ogre had this grab in Tag 2 where he had these like kinetic powers or telekinesis, I believe. He could choke the opponent without actually touching them, right? But that was only a grab animation. So you had these supernatural abilities, these weapon abilities, but they were locked behind a grab animation or like a special move. An example I can give in Tekken 8 is this: a Victor's grab, right? Victor like slices you up with a sword. The only difference is, whilst Ogre had that grab animation only exclusive to the anime to the grab, Victor has both, right? He can do that with the grab, and he does that in-game as well. So the in-game part is what we don't like. The in-game part is what majority of the fan base do not like. It's kind of weird, okay? Like coming from Tekken 5, like the OG Tekken games, and from that coming to this, right? I understand Tekken 8 has a ton of new players, so not many people have grown up with this game. But if you've grown up with Tekken, it just makes the game, it's just weird. It makes the game seem very off, and it's not the Tekken we grew up with. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing is very, very subjective. So how do I feel about this? I'll be honest, boys, there are some aspects I love about it, and there are some aspects I absolutely hate. So for example, Anna, in my opinion, was boring as shit. Anna was a very bland character outside of her personality, right? Complete opposite of Nina. Her personality was goated, but her gameplay was very bland. But they sauced the shit out of Anna in Tekken 8. Like, I'm sorry, grounded or OG Tekken players, I'm sure you hate this, but I actually like what they've done with Anna, bro. Like, the rocket launcher looks sick for me, right? The sliding rocket launcher, you know. Now, there are some aspects I don't like about it. Like, for example, her chaos, is it a chaos judgment stance? Where she does a kick into the rocket launcher. I don't think this should be a thing. We don't need projectiles in Tekken. So, it should not come out on whiff. Like, just take that away. But what she has is on block, basically like running through, for example, running through the rocket launcher. Stuff that gels on block and is not really like meta, but, you know, especially after the nerf to chip damage as well. So some stuff looks good. I think she's more fleshed out as a character. It makes her, it's fun to do, okay? It's fun to do, but I understand it does not belong in Tekken. It's a weapon, weapons, projectiles, you don't want that. But I might argue that it makes Anna better. I think she's a better looking character, design-wise. She's fun to use. That's just my opinion. Even Nina, right? The gunshots with Nina, she has that Ada Wong vibe. Most of these are high, so they can be ducked, and you can't just spam them because they come out of, they're locked behind strings. So it gives Nina some sauce as well, in my opinion, makes her pop. Basically, her personality pops a bit more. I always found Nina to be boring, but like the gunshots for me are fun as well. Then there are some that I just don't like Victor. I don't like Victor, right? I don't like how they implemented the weapons. I think it's a bit too much on Victor's side. Like if you look at Anna and Nina, they're kind of doing both, right? They have hand to hand, but they throw out weapons sometimes. But like Victor, it's mostly just weapons. She has the kunais, he has the sword, he has the guns, he has the teleports. I don't know. It just feels that there are characters that are done right and characters that are not done right. But that's just my take. Maybe it's a hot take. I don't know, guys. I'm very divided on this topic. I do like Anna and Nina. I love the designs and the gunshots, the rocket launcher. But Victor, Miarizo, it doesn't add up to me. it just doesn't. And then there's also an issue of basically adding shit to characters that they don't need. Law, for example, dude. Law did not need the nunchuck. He did not, at least in my opinion. I don't really have an issue with the nunchuck. The combos are fun, but Law was a well-designed character. He did not need them, is what I'm trying to say. His design was like super top tier. Of course, it's goddamn Bruce Lee, so that alone carries Law, right? DSS cancels. He had a lot of flavor. He had pizzazz, he popped, okay? So he did not need the nunchucks. I have seen people complain that I love Law, but I just can't play Law because I don't like the whole nunchuck thing, because I've turned him into Maxi from Soul Calibur, right? Maxi was a character that had a nunchuck. So there's that disparity of basically killing the way the character plays by adding weapons to the character. Even Anna, maybe Anna and Nina, there are people who don't like the rocket launcher on Anna, who don't like the gunshots on Nina, and have dropped the character because of that, which I do understand. So it's a very difficult subject, boys. So like in conclusion, there are some aspects I like about it, and there are some aspects I don't. Like, try to be glass half full, right? Look at it this way. It's a game that has both weapon characters as well as grounded martial arts, hand-to-hand combat. So it's a bit of both worlds, but I know it sucks if your character is changed up from being the character you knew, right? The OG character you knew, like Law, for example, into a new version of that character that just plays differently with the weapon. I understand that side and it sucks, right? Like, I can't imagine if Raven was given his knives, right? Like, how would he play? Of course, Raven used the knives back in Street Fighter X Tekken, and depending on how they implement those knives, I might hate it, I might like it. Because of right now, for me, I love the clones with Raven, my favorite design in the game. Like, yeah, even after Armor King drops, I still like Raven's design more, and the way he plays, the clones are sick to me. So imagine going to Tekken 8 and now he has knives and the clones are changed. That would suck, so I do understand. So is Tekken 8 just a Soul Calibur light? Honestly, at this point, it is, right? It is. This is the new age of Tekken. I know people will still complain whenever a new character is released with weapons, but that's just the nature of the game. We have grown up with this game. Early Tekken 3, Tekken 4, Tekken 5, there were no weapons and shit. This is a new age of Tekken. Either you stick with it or you just don't. At the end of the day, it is what it is. Like, dude, remember Tekken 7? Namco was on a streak with Season 3, man. Season 3, Season 4, where we got Leroy, we got Fak and Lydia. All pure martial art characters, hand to hand. So they can do stuff like that, right? They can do it. They gave us they gave us Reina as well, sick character, hand to hand. They gave us Azucena, who I don't like, but still hand to hand. But then Victor and Mio, Clive as well. So it's just a new age. I think they're double dipping now. Weapons in hand to hand. So yeah, accept it for what it is. It is what it is. Love it or hate it. This is the new age of Tekken. But that's just my take. Let me hear your take. As always, boys, I love hearing what you have to say. I love reading the comments. You guys are always open. And let's talk about this one. Is a big one, boys. The weapon system in Tekken 8, or the weapons, the magic characters. Is this just a new Soul Calibur 8? Do you love it? Do you hate which characters? Do you hate which characters do you love? Is there anyone that mains Law? Like, how do you feel about Law having weapons now outside of his normal design, or Anna players, Nina players? Let me hear your thoughts. Thank you so much as usual for taking time to watch this video. If you've made this far, please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, help me get to 9k subs. By the end of the year, boys, just need 60 more subs. Let's get it, boys, let's get it. Thank you so much, and GG.